good evening, everybody. We know this is the last session, and the last panel can be quite challenging, but I'm sure my esteemed panel out here is going to make it worth the while. So it's an interesting topic on aligning people's strategy with business goals. I don't know what else would you do. That is the basic one should be doing. But how can always be pretty interesting. So in the next few minutes, we are going to deliberate a lot on that. Let me just share that over the last few years, with the massive acceleration that has happened on digital technologies and the connectivity which has come up, which has transformed the way we live and work, we all have to look at what changes it's bringing in. There is a sense of urgency around the climate and the change that is happening, and this has intensified organizations to look towards the sustainability aspect of the business. New ways of organizing workforces have emerged, diverse workforces, of course, digital workforces, and open talent landscapes. You don't have to have people in the organization outside, you can have a fluid workforce as well. So those are some new talent landscapes which have come up. So new capabilities are being developed to maximize the human to digital intersection. And this obviously calls for strong coupling between business and people strategy, and hence even stronger partnership between CO and CHRO, because they need to work as co-pilots to driving the business strategy, which is a combination of everything in business, including people. I would say that if every organization and every CEO was to lead the organization from the perspective triple bottom line, which is people, planet and profitability, this question would become less of a enigma. So with that as the context, I will probably raise the first question to you, Pankaj. How does HR leadership at various levels, including senior, mid and junior, actively participate in shaping and aligning business strategy to people strategy, or people strategy to business strategy, whichever way you look at it?
Thanks, Rachna. I think a difficult one. It's going to be the last session of the day, so we'll try and keep it crisp. So I'll not get into what should be done, because since morning we've been talking about this topic on HR leadership and all that. You would have heard a lot about on those things, and I'm going to touch upon how we do it in our organization, so that we can have a practical view around partnering piece, the strategy. So I'll probably give a little overview what our group is. That will talk about the complexity, and that will also lead me to how we do it. So we're a very fairly diversified group with about 21 companies. And the range is like a company which is 60-year-old to a company which is just born 6 months back, to a company which is a 100-crore company, to a company which is about 5,000 crores, a company with a manpower of about 300 people, manpower of 50 people, to a company with a manpower of 5,000 people, and that too spread across 60 locations. So one of the key challenge for us is how do you consistently deploy HR agenda or people strategy across a strategy which aligns with the business objective, which runs and drives the business across. So that's the kind of complexity we deal with. And I'm going to talk about two practices which I feel we do it pretty well. One is the way we define our HR strategy or the people strategy, and that's the key to this question probably. So I think in the whole process, the dialogue and participation is the key. So participation means how do you involve the business when you're creating a people strategy? Everybody says that we take inputs and all that, but how we do it in our case is, when we start the process, we have a dialogue. So dialogue is critical. And dialogue across, right from the stakeholders, to CEOs across, to the board members, to the ecosystem. We even talk to our customers, to supply. The HR leads that charge. In my various roles, have been to the customers, our key customers. We supply to all major OEMs. I have met Maruti's, Harley Davidson, or Hondas, and everything to understand where we are operating in, who is our customer, who is living the, who is paying for our salaries. So we have been leading the charge. So HR has been the forefront so that they understand the complexity. So dialogue is very, very critical. So till the time we don't understand our customer, will not be able to serve our stakeholders. So the dialogue is critical. So we talk to them when we are about to start the journey of creation. So we, in our context, have a 3-year rolling strategy because the way, its industry is changing, evolving fast, it's important to have a reality check every year. So we start with the conversation. When we have the discussions, we involve them in the discussions. When we have a strategy meet, we have business guys joining us, sharing the expectations. When we're creating the initiatives, we are bringing them in to talk about that. So they're participating. So my job is to create that collaboration with the business, to bring them on the table. If we want the seat on the table, typically it's said that HR need to have a seat on the table. So if we want to have a seat on the table of the business, we want to bring them on our table when we are having discussions. Only then they will have the respect because they are participating, they are co-creating. They are the one who are driving. So that's the way we do it. And then when we get into solutioning mode, we test with them, we talk to them. When we implement, then we involve across. So this is the way business is getting involved. Second is how we actually drive in day on day. So I have 21 companies and so many HRs. So some of the key HR people are my pillar leaders of my strategy. They are the one who are responsible for driving and all that. So that's how we keep the whole people together when we're executing. Because in our case, the complexity is that our execution is almost 3 arms away. So how do you do that? So that's the way we do it. So I think I'm running out of time, so probably I'll not touch upon the second one. If the opportunity comes, I'll come with the second practice. So just wanted to give a practical view of how we do it.
Thank you, Pankaj. It was interesting to understand in a very diverse business scenario how you are engaging and co-creating the strategy together with the business leaders. And I think that is the right way. That is how it would benefit the most. In the new normal, it is imperative that organizations are positioning themselves for future capabilities, future skills for the employees, because the businesses are evolving so fast and in a very different manner. There are few key aspects of the dimensions that would be required in the people business strategy, and people definitely is one of them. So, I would say that in that context, and Rabeen, let me come to you on this. In the context of aligning with business goals, how do you approach talent acquisition and development to ensure that the organization had the right skills and the right capabilities for the strategic objectives and for the future? I'm sure you're doing a lot of that in your organization, so good to hear about that.
Since it's a house which is sparsely populated, I'll be a little more, open and vocal about how I feel on the subject. And I am actually reminded of something which Josh Bersin, said very recently to a leadership team. He said, your ability to hire, retain, train, and redeploy is going to get difficult as you go by. And that is why HR is going to be very, very important for you. So, of course, COVID, Rachna and my esteemed panel, all of us would have seen, it has put HR at a platform where it is becoming extremely important in the organizational context. And of course, talent acquisition and development are actually the two most important and strategic pillars in creating long-term capability for the organization. In my view, talent acquisition would evolve out of the routine hiring, issuance of offer, and so on and so forth. It's going to get very complex and data-driven. It will, and of course, since the industry that I come from, aerospace and defense, the new age sector that I belong to, it has and it is going to include many aspects of, specialization, of diversity and inclusion, employer branding, creating a talent ecosystem outside of, the routine industry. A lot of technology, artificial intelligence is going to be embraced, and so on and so forth. Of course, with that will come the need for developing talent internally. I mean, the rate at which, and of course, I was, reading the recent LinkedIn Learning, report of 2023, which says 25% of the roles, 28% I would remember, 28% of the roles from 2014 have evolved in terms of newer skills. And by 2025, it will be 45%. Which means there's going to be an acute need in the organizations and in the entire ecosystem to have newer methodologies of creating those skills and sourcing those skills, which is where the entire methodology of learning and development of these newer skills in the organization will come. And of course, with this evolution, the talent is not available. You look at any of the new age industry, whether it is aerospace and defense, it is the new age manufacturing, it is, chip making, the iPhone which is getting manufactured in India, and so on and so forth. The skills aren't available. So the skills will have to be developed in-house, internally. And that is where comes the interplay of the talent acquisition and development, which means whole lot of new skills that are required in the organizations will have to be created right within the organization, and it will be an internal talent marketplace as we go by. So the talent acquisition will take a whole lot of people which are kind of groomed internally through the learning and development teams, and they would, refill and create that kind of a refill from the bottom of, people and roles and so on and so forth. Which is what actually, if I take my own example of aerospace and defense, which is a new age sector, we didn't have aerospace and defense present in India other than the government sector. So last decade, we actually went around, creating people from the bottom, training them through our OEM presence. Of course, at a point in time, that's the whole mindset shift that we had. That at a point in time, we were so cool that our OEMs, our original equipment manufacturer would give us all the technology, so we were cool at it. Suddenly they said, boss, we've transferred the technology, now you guys make it. And the skills have to be, created. And of course, the industry has done that, and it's kind of, created that difference not only for Indian aerospace and defense, but also made a very remarkable mark in the global sector. Now, of course, the US and the Europe was the primary supplier of aerospace and defense, but today, India is on the map, and India is kind of, it's 45,000 crore industry per annum, and at a point in time, it only was, typically a government sector. So that's a kind of a change that will be seen in terms of newer skills, the ability of the company to train and create those kind of newer skills. The skill first in people strategy is going to be the key word in the future of workplace. And of course, with the internal talent marketplace doing the interplay with the development team, it will be important to have that culture of nimbleness and a lot of spontaneity. Because the future is about being spontaneous, because there will not be playbooks, there will not be templates that we know. It all will have to be created. So we've got to be spontaneous and nimble, right? So that is all from my side.
Sure. Thanks, Rabeen. Very interesting that the focus on build is going to be very high. And one of the things that I want to really bring in here is we experimented in Schneider with a third aspect from build and buy, which was of borrow. And we created internal talent market where people could give part of their time to projects, and we reduced the need for a whole lot of extra manpower that we would have had. But very strategically utilizing the skills of your current people, and that also led to great development for people. And similarly, an external mind. So I think with the workforces evolving, the whole thing starts with the design of the organization, moves to build or buy or borrow of talent. For example, digital talent. is a big need, whether you buy, build or borrow, but that is going to be something we can't keep out of our focus area. So excellent sharing, Rabeen. Let's move to another aspect which is often talked about, and even more so when it comes to a CEO-CHRO partnership, which is to do with ROIs. How can organizations assess the return on investment of HR investments, especially in terms of people and talent development and in terms of influencing, the people aspect of the business strategy? So let me move to Shaleen, and Shaleen, if you can just throw some light from your experience on this.
Sure, Rachna. Thanks for asking me this question. And this is definitely a pertinent question in current context because everybody is talking about return on investment. And in fact, in today's rapidly changing business landscape, every organization is seeking out their ways to maximize one, investment, and second, how they can optimize and improve performance across department. And HR function is no exception anymore. And while we have all seen that we have gained value over a period of time, but still I can say that demonstrating return on investment is one thing which we really need to look at it. And it's not a nice thing to have anymore. It's absolutely essential as well as crucial for us. But all of us who are part of HR and even from the business side, you would actually vouch for it that a lot of human resource activities that we perform, not all the activities have direct monetary value attached to that. And it makes it very, very challenging for all of us to really have a quantifiable impact on the organization financial performance, right? But does that mean we should stop really calculating ROI? No, I think we should find ways and means to keep doing that, because any purpose-driven organization, apart from working towards economic, social, as well as environmental sustainability model, they are there to build business, they are there to build profit, and obviously support livelihood. And HR function can play a very vital role in supporting the top line through productivity, efficiency, and at the bottom line as well, from cost optimization. So here, I would say that we need to use certain metrics to make sure that we keep showing our leaders, our business, our management, that what are the contributions that we are doing in terms of supporting these top line and bottom line. And there are now ways, means, tools available where we can use data-centric approach, because when you talk to the leaders, when you talk to the management, what they understand is data. And when you bring back those approaches in front of them, they try and respect you a lot more. And obviously, you can communicate results with all your matrices. So when you do all that, definitely you will increase the value of your function and your seat actually be secure at the decision table. And that's what I think you have asked me how we can influence it. If you are on the decision table, then only you can influence people around you. And building ROI, building on interventions that you are doing, this is the way you can do it. Most of the companies that I work with, or I have seen in people in such forums that I interact with, I have actually seen that they want to show up ROIs, but they don't know how to do that. So the only thing which I would like to say, that simple ROI process model that they can follow in order to really ensure that they are delivering ROIs from any intervention that they do, starting from having a plan and do a lot of data collection, analyze it and show results. But do it, because until and unless you will show ROI to your management, you will not be able to really take out that space for yourself. And we are not a cost center anymore. We are definitely a strategic partner, and we actually enabler and driving business along with the teams there. So that is very, very important. Yes, maybe when you go out, you will meet people. There are organizations who are working towards it, and you will find it. But those who are not even working on it, this is the right time, because the times that we are into, we have already seen a lot change post-COVID, and the environment become more dynamic day by day. So if you are not aligned with such thoughts, you will be lagged and you will not be relevant in future. And HR teams, one of the key aspect of HR and roles and responsibility to make sure that you, your business, your teams, people around you remain relevant and part of the future unit as well. So that's my viewpoint, Rachna.
Thank you so much, Shaleen. Very sharp points on how ROI is very, very important. I think gone are the days when one could look for any function, and I don't want to call out HR specifically, for any function, for any business to remain anecdotal. It's extremely important to be very data-based and communicate how the investment is, how the return on investment is happening. I think it also makes sense to tell where it can be measured and where it cannot be. I think that becomes important. So some of the things where, some of the aspects where I have seen it work very well is in an organization when we shifted the focus from 80% buy of talent to 80% build of talent at senior management teams. How it helped was continuity of business, motivation of people seeing the growth, faster integration because these are internal people. But we kept 20% as external as buy purposely because you need some fresh thought process to come in. You need some people who can come and challenge the status quo. So I think that is one way. Also, when you plan for next 5 years, what is the intake you need of leaders for future of your business? How many of them you are going to buy or build? That kind of dimensioning itself is a big return on investment from the business strategy perspective. But I want to specifically call out that, when we called out sustainability index based on SDGs, sustainability and development goals, we saw that you can link your talent in terms of diversity there. So you can define if it is gender, what sort of a measurement should be there between middle management, senior management and junior management, and hold your managers accountable to it. If you're looking at getting more younger people in the organization, you can hold the hiring managers responsible to how are they spending the time with the people they're getting in the organization. Are they focusing on it? If it is that your goals have to be more green, then are you contributing to that business, and is the bonus scheme or the performance linked incentive really very aligned to it? I think there are n number of examples where HR's ROI, let me put it, people KPI's ROI can be measured. So thanks for that. As we reimagine the partnership now, Radhika, of the CEO and CHRO in this era where the business is very dynamic, very evolving, very transforming, and we don't know what's coming next. And in that situation, what is one thing that you would say that for the CEO, CHRO, one thing that should start, stop, or continue?
Sure. Thanks, Rachna. In this, like you said, ever-changing scenario, which is like a new normal now, I think this partnership between the CEO and CHRO is really, really critical, much critical than ever before. And I think the important aspect here is the people, the human capital, which is, I think, the most important resource for any organization who is the differentiator, has to remain a strategic advantage in this ever-changing building landscape, right? So in view of that, I think I'll want to stick with the basics. So what should CEOs start doing is really, really collaborate with the CHROs to ensure that the future talent landscape of the organization is set. And the entire efforts of how do we, like the other panelists were saying, how do we really create the talent pool, the entire ecosystem inside the organization, how do we ensure that the skills which our employees, are skilling them on, they remain relevant in the future, and they are really aligned to the business requirements, and how do we really ensure that not only the current skills, which generally most of the CEOs are, their current focus is, okay, business profits. So they want to really focus on the current talent needs. But what is coming up next, and how do we ensure that our talent is ready to meet the future needs also? So of course somebody said, the nimble workforce, the agility, all that needs to be worked upon in close collaboration with CHROs. In terms of what the CEOs should stop doing, I would say, of course, I would want to call out two things here, not one. One is stop micromanaging the talent decisions, which they always do. They think they know their people well because they are good people managers, and they want to take every talent decisions related to their business. But they have to give that expert power to the CHROs also, and kind of co-own the decisions. And so generally how we say it in our HR space, that if you want the business to do something, get a consultant. Because internal logo ki nahi sunte hain, right? So you get a consultant, let a consultant talk, and then they'll agree. But they have to give that, respect to the CHROs that, okay, they know their field and they can take the decisions. Of course, in addition to that, I'm sure gone are the days then that HR is an administrative function or just a hiring partner for you and a compliance partner. We are much beyond that. We understand business. So the CEOs will have to give us that freedom to operate so that we are able to align with the business. And to continue, I think the very famous quote which says it all, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the best strategy possible, but unless the people and the culture are aligned to that strategy, nothing is going to happen. So the people and the business strategy has to be aligned, and here a lot of collaboration between the CHRO and CEO has to happen to ensure this. I will give you an example here from my organization, in terms of how a people decision can impact business decision and vice versa. So we have our EPC and infra business. I represent Jakson. We are a 75 years old company in the energy and infra space and into various businesses. One of our businesses, EPC and infra, where we recently got an order for UP government in the water distribution space. So you would have heard this UP government's mandate of Har Ghar Jal. So we are their partner in ensuring that from the infra side this project is built up. And this is the first project which Jakson is doing. We have expertise in other EPC like metro, transmission and distribution and other projects, but not in water. So what was happening when we were giving offers, especially to the senior workforce, a lot of offers were getting dropped. We were not able to hire the right talent. And what we realized, this happened because we didn't have any next order of water. So it's a huge project for us, like a 400, 500 CR project. And this was the first time we were doing. So the business strategy was, let's do it right. And once we get the execution right, then only we'll go in for the next order. But from the workforce perspective, because obviously this is a project workforce, they would come only if they see the visibility of the next project. So, again, the CEO and the CHRO has to collaborate there. And then we defined a strategy to attract talent. We have other projects in transmission and distribution space. And whether it is a water distribution or a electricity distribution, most of the time the skills are the same. And that's how we started kind of, marketing our requirement that, okay, we don't have a water project. So in the meanwhile, you do transmission and distribution, and then we'll bag a new water order. And that's how we were able to attract talent. And there are numerous other examples which I can give where, the business and the HR strategy really goes hand in hand. But I will rest my case here in interest of time, Rachna ji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Radhika. Very well explained with that example. And just to summarize that then, I think if the conversations between CEO and CHRO were to move from transaction to transformational, are more around the culture change, the workforce change, the new business model, or whatever it needs, the contemporary topics, and how the people part has to rally around it, I think that would take it to the real business goals. Staying with the transaction, even from a CEO perspective, is not going to. So very nicely elaborated. I think in summary, if I was to say the key success factors which are important to align people strategy with business goals, as we all heard, strong coupling between business and people strategy with CEO and CHRO being co-pilots and consulting coaching, developing also that partnership together. Customers and employees to be at the center of the decision making, because that whole aspect impacts employees and employees impact customers. Continued appetite for transformation and speed of decision making. Empowering and upskilling leaders to take the responsibility. I think this responsibility of people development and people part becoming very closely coupled with business strategy is led not by HR but the CEO and every leader, and that cannot be lost focus on. And I think HR and business hand in hand, because as much as HR has to understand the business, which is an absolute need, every leader to understand nuances of the people aspect is equally important. So I think that's what goes to make the partnership strong and making the people aspect very, very pronounced in the business strategy. So thank you very much. We are at the end of the time, and very good points from all of you. Thank you so much for this interaction. Thank you.